Let's not take credit for our father's good deeds. ¿Por qué a los catalanes les llaman polacos? Are these Spaniards? Spaniards? Are they crazy? Don't they know who they are? I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they have an inkling. Maybe it's something that I will talk about in another video, as that is a prelude to another rabbit hole right here before you. I'm not making any statements about any of this right now. I'm looking into it, all right? Be patient. Today's rabbit hole are the Prussians, or the old Prussians, before the Teutonic Knights showed up. Not German, not Germanic, because they never called themselves that. Teutonic Knights showed up and ethnically cleansed the area, stealing the name Prussian, taking it for themselves and pretending that they are something that they're not. Something that these shapeshifters, Semitic shapeshifters, have been doing through time immemorial, right? First they, well, I won't say first, but at some point in recent, not so recent history, they took on the name German, right? Germania, from the landmass called, or that area over there by the Romans called Germania, right? They took on that identity by ethnically cleansing the area from all the Slavs that lived there. They brainwashed these people to call themselves German, right? Not to say that there weren't Celtic or otherwise admixtures, other Semitic admixtures, because that also happened there. But, you know, that's one example of these shapeshifters moving through cultures and mowing down cultures and peoples that not a lot of people know about, okay? The Prussian example, because it's so recent and so blatantly obvious, is a really good one to use as an archetype, if you will, for these people and what it is that they do, their agenda, right? How they shapeshift, take on the identity of the people that they conquer after they ethnically cleanse the area that those people occupy, right? So today, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, whenever they say Prussian, they think they're talking about Germans. And in a way they are, if you realize that Germania was a land populated by Slavs. Those were the original Germans, if you will, right? But they never called themselves that. That was a Roman Empire label given to them. All these labels are given. Prussians, those people didn't call themselves Prussians. What did they call themselves? Well, we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, the Teutonic Knights took over Prussia, ethnically cleansed it, and called themselves that, right? And this idea is so deeply engraved on the minds of these descendants of Slavs that call themselves German today, that when they say Russia, right, they think they're talking about Germans, or what they think Germans are. My God, do these people not know their history? It's sad. Anyway, the old Prussians were conquered. There you go. Blah, blah, blah. You could read about what happened to these people, how they were ethnically cleansed. It ain't pretty. Etymology. Where does the name Prussia come from? In Ptolemy, 2nd century AD, geographer Claudius Ptolemy, insofar as we know, a Roman, listed some Borusci, Borussia, living in European Sarmatia, blah, 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 which was separated from Germania by so on and so forth, right? Borusci. So when they're talking about CheRUSCI, well, they're probably talking about a related people, okay? And when they're talking about Etrusci, yeah, Etruscans, whatever the hell, well, who are they talking about? They're talking about yet another proto-Slavic, if you will, in my opinion, right? Before they were called Slavs, these Scythians, say it right now, that's who they're talking about, right? Etrusci, Ruski, the Ruthenians, right? Not Russian, because that came later, but that's what they're talking about, Etrusci. What did the Etrusci call themselves? Oh, by the way, mainstream media, historians, so on and so forth, they'll tell you that the Etruscan civilization is a huge mystery, where when something like almost 200 years ago, a Polish ethnographer, I think, scientist, researcher, basically translated the Etruscan alphabet, right? These Western scholars have been, quote unquote, struggling to decipher it. They've been looking, in my opinion, for ways to make it Western, to make it Italian or Proto-Italian or Proto-Greek. They've been looking for ways to shape their theories, to decipher this, translate it in a way to make it sound like it wasn't Slavic, right? When a guy way before them with, you would think, less knowledge, right? No access to computers, the internet, none of that, right? Less discoveries having been made at that time. He was able to read, right? A Polish guy was able to read those inscriptions. He wrote a book about it that the Vatican, right? Romans put on their banned list and chased him to hell out of Central Europe, and he had to seek refuge in Russia, right? Etrusci. Oh, what a grand mystery. Who were these people? These Etruscis. Who were they? When you look at where they were located, well, that's right next to Venice, right? Venezia, which was at one point settled by a Veneti or Veleti, which comes from Vandal tribe, right? Here's another rabbit hole I will talk about in another video. So you had the, I don't know what they call them, Italian Veneti or something, or Veleti, right? That was one tribe supposedly. Then you had another tribe in Spain that was called the Celtic Veneti or Veleti. And then you had the Veleti from the land of the Vandals and, you know, the Vistula River, Wisła, which was called Vandal before that, right? You had the Vistula Veneti, and mainstream will tell you that all these Veneti people, even though the Scythians conquered all those lands or had settlements in all of those lands, right? Italy, Spain, all of Europe, basically, continental Europe anyway. They'll tell you that, oh no, they were just all these different peoples that happened to be named exactly the same, right? Those were the Celtic Veleti, those were the Slavic Veleti, and these were Proto-Italian or Mediterranean Veleti. Like some, really? You really have to be fucking stupid to believe this mainstream history nonsense. Anyway, that's a different rabbit hole. I apologize. We're talking about the Etrusci right now, right? Etrusci. Where did these mysterious people come from? Who were these Ruski people? I don't know. Any ideas, guys? Fuck, mainstream history is such a joke. Anyway, they did not call themselves. Surprise, surprise. Oh, look at that. The Aryan symbol, right? The swastika. The same symbol that Hitler dragged through mud as he exterminated the Aryans. The Semite that he was. That's what happened. Etrusci. The Etruscans called themselves Rasenna, which was shortened to Rasna, or, wait for it, Rashna. Etymology unknown. Who talks like this? See, the Romans called them Etrusci, just like CheRUSCI, just like Borusci, right? Because they were who? Who were they? They were the Ruthenians, or the Proto-Ruthenians, or the Ruthens, right? From where you get Russian, right? These were Proto-Russian people, if you will. Ruthenian. What are these Ruthenians called? Wait for it. Polish people called Ruthenians Rushini. Does it sound like Raseni, maybe? Rashna? And Belarusians were the White Russians, or the White Biało Rushini. Rashna? Raseni? Does it sound similar at all, does it? And what's Rashna? Has anyone ever heard of Rashna? Depending on where you're from in the Slavic country, you may call it Riasno, you may call it Rasna, but Polish people call it Rashna. It's a town in Belarus. Huh. Where do you think the name comes from? The Raceni, Etrusci people? I mean, fuck, man. It's the same story over and over and over and over again. These Slavic or proto-Slavic people, their history is erased and they're being taken over and Germanized or Romanized, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Their history is being stolen from them and they're being assimilated into these various Semitic cultures, or Semitic derived from the Semites, cultures of the Semites, right? These Semites in particular, they don't seem to care much about any culture because they are shapeshifters, right? They go to some ancient temple, or not temple, palace probably, in Baalbek, right? And they write some sloppy inscriptions on there and they say mine, right? Then moving further north, and this is in line with my hypothesis of the Semitic invasion of Europe, right? Whereas the Aryans came over land from the Caucasus, right? The Semitic people were coming from the Middle East, North Africa, Levant, right? By sea mostly, because they were seafarers, the descendants of the Phoenicians, right? So this would be in line with my hypothesis, right? They went into Italy, modern day Italy. They took over the Etrusci, right? Those Ruscini, Racini, whatever the hell you want to call them. It's one and the same people, right? The name changes slightly over literally thousands of years. They take over that culture, right? And then they call it their own, right? They probably took over the Colosseum and all these other things that all these other people built, right? Why did the Vandals conquer Rome? Did they conquer Rome or did they take it back, right? I don't know. But this is the conflict I keep talking about. And the border of where they clash, the Semites and the Aryans, it moves over various thousands of years, but it's the same theme over and over. The Semites finding their way by means of a Trojan horse. That's another rabbit hole right there. They find their way into these people's culture. They steal the culture from them, right? They assimilate. They call themselves by those people's name. They take over their culture while ethnically cleansing the creators of that culture. And I see no reason to believe why it was any different with the Etrusci, right? Or the CheRUSCI, or the Borusci, which became the Prussians, right? Borusci, that's what they call themselves. Or that's what the proto-Polish people called them. Borusci. So, I mean, simply looking at, forget all the archaeological finds and what some of these scientists have posited, the discoveries that they've made. Simply looking at the etymology of the words, in my opinion, tells you exactly who these people were. They were the proto-Ruthenians or Ruscini, which is why they call themselves Racini, whatever the hell, right? And these Semitic people, because they talk funny, right? They call them Ruski. All different kinds of types of Ruski, which is to this day what Americans call the Russians. Ruski. Anyway, who were the Etruscans? Who were the Prussians? Probably one and the same, which is why they needed to be ethnically cleansed. Their history had to be erased, and their intelligentsia had to be shot in the back of the head and buried. Okay? Because you're not supposed to know your history. That's what's up. That's my video. Let's not blame the son for his father's sins.